Hey everyone, welcome to my video. Today I'm going to show you my 2021 bullet journal setup. One of the things I definitely have to add is learn to edit my videos better, because this one's a pretty long one even though it's in super fast forward mode. So hopefully you get something out of it. Feel free to use any of my ideas or make them your own, of course, and hopefully this helps and is interesting to you. Thanks! So first I started with putting some re-inkers for my stamp pads in a little art palette so I could mix it with water and make a sort of watercolor. I decided I wanted to do a bit of a galaxy theme, so these are what I sort of wanted to make look like planets. And I'm sort of happy with how those turned out. It wasn't too bad, but I probably could have done better if I practiced a bit more. Towards the end, I sort of felt like they were a little bit better. So I just have those little water painter brushes that you just fill with water and squeeze a little bit out with the ink so I could make it heavier or lighter as I wanted. And sometimes it was successful and sometimes it wasn't as successful. But overall, I think that it added a little bit of pop of color and got the idea across that I wanted it to. By the end, I had a little bit of a hard time deciding what colors I wanted to do, because I wasn't really sure what colors I was going to do in the book, but then I just washed all my markers off by squeezing a little bit of water out. Easy peasy. So this is the journal I got from Chapters. Came with a little bit of a stencil and a pen. I didn't use the pen or the stencil for this, but I thought I could use them in the future. So I started by writing my name in the book, and then I turned onto the first page and did the date, or the year of 2021, and colored it in with some markers. Not the best markers to use for this, I didn't think, but I also didn't want them to leak through the page, which I think they are a bit prone to do, so I wanted to go with the lighter Crayola markers is what I used, and I stuck my planets to the page. Then I found a nice little inspirational quote that I wrote onto the next page. You can see, even though I've got a thick paper journal with some lighter markers that shouldn't leak through, it still showed through a little bit, so it wasn't the best. And I stuck a little washi tape as well as a planet on here. Tried to do like a moon phase kind of look for that one, which is okay, but it didn't really fit that well. So then I did a goal planner page, and I put a little goal quote in there. Um, of course, I'm erasing the pencil marks as I go along because it's harder to erase them after you color stuff in. So first I wanted to get the pencil marks off from my planning. And I also wrote a quote on this page about goal making. And one of my goals I'm going to do is learning how to do some lettering, I think. Also editing my YouTube videos, because this one turned out to be longer than I wanted it to, even though I've sped it up and cut out a couple of parts. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I can figure out what I don't need to put in all my humming and hawing. And I also made a little credit to the person who said the quote or wrote the quote in the first place. And I'll fill in the goals a little bit later. So then I started on my year at a glance calendar, and I have this number stamp which I wanted to use, even though it has 31 days, so I had to clean that up afterwards. And it also doesn't go by day. You can see I made a little error on there. I didn't get enough ink on the stamp, so I also had to fill those numbers in a little bit with a pen afterwards, but most of the other ones worked. It was a bit hard to do the stamp on that side of the page because it wasn't very flat, but the right side of the page was a bit easier to get it even and flat, a little bit straighter. So I did 6 months per page, and then I wrote everything else in as needed. I didn't do the days of the week because they obviously don't match up. They have 10 numbers across, so you can't just go Sunday to Saturday or Monday to Sunday, however you like to write your days in. I'm old school and I learned how to do it Sunday to Saturday. But this year I learned it makes more sense to start on Monday, or else it's going to take extra lines in January to get all of the numbers in. So it takes up more space, so it spaces out better if you start on Monday. But anyways, back to this. Doing January will come later. Got all those months in. So here I am, as I said, fixing up those numbers that didn't quite stamp right with the ink, making that look better, filling it all out. Now when I find the right pen, I'm going to go ahead and put the title page on top for the future, the year at a glance. So I can go back and see all my dates. Afterwards, I'm going to go and color in. I didn't make a key, but I'm just going to color in with different colors the holidays, the birthdays that I want to remember, any special appointments. I'm probably going to put them in each month as well, so it probably doesn't matter too much that I have this full year calendar in here, but sometimes it's nice to get a at-a-glance view and see how many things you have over the entire year. So after erasing some of the pencil marks again, I had to go back and figure out which months didn't have 31 days, and erase or white out is what I did, the extra numbers at the end of each month that didn't have 31 days. And also, there was a couple spots where I got a little ink that I didn't need that I wanted to get out of the way. So there wasn't really much room left on the page with all the months on there to make it into the galaxy theme. No planets, no stars would really fit, just a little bit of dots and colors. So I decided just to do like a messy underline and kind of fill in some of the blank space with some color just to make it pop a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting. Didn't really work going over top of the whiteout, unfortunately, but it was just that one spot that didn't quite look right. So what I've seen on some other YouTube channels is that people are doing reading journals, which I thought was really cool. And I thought I might do my own reading journal. I actually have an entire binder full of authors and all the books that they've written, all the authors that I like and the books that they've written, and have I read them, and I keep that as my list of things to read and what I've already read, because I read so many books and they're often quite simple books, but I like them anyways. They're fun to read and they're quick, so I forget which one of a series I'm on or if I've read it, unless that it's new and it just came out. So sometimes I have to like read the description again to figure out if I've read it already, but if I have this list handy that I can check, then I do that. So I thought this was a really interesting new thing that I could try. So with this, what I'm going to do is I've got just sort of my book counter right here for 2021, and you'll see me do a page like many of the book journalers do that just has a bunch of bookshelves, and you can sort of color in all the books you've read over the year to see how many. And I'm sure I'll be able to fill this out no problem, but what I'm going to do as well is go on each month and have an accounting of what specific books I've read and by what author, so I can copy that down and I can write in some of my favorite authors in the future and have their books for their release date. If I'm waiting for something to come out for the next book in a series or something like that, I read many series, so I want to know when the next book I'm going to be able to read it. So I grab that, I can put it in my future upcoming journals, make sure that I get that when it comes out, and read that one. Now this was not a good choice for marker. This one totally bled through. You could see that little peak there, that it completely went through the other side of the page, so it's going to wreck both sides of the page. And I'm going to do a different marker on the other side, because that was a chisel tip too, so it made it a big mess. And I tried to use the blender or the color lifter to try and fix those edges, which didn't really work, but I wasn't too bothered by it, so I just kind of left it alone after that. I just changed my marker to a brush tip, which made it a little smoother, a little more even to color in that bookshelf line. Although it still completely bled through the paper and made big black lines on both of my other layouts. There's my key at the bottom, so I just wrote in an original book, an audiobook or an ebook. I use Kobo and Kindle. I usually do ebooks, and I have used Audible and done a lot of books that way, and also got a few from Chirp audiobooks, which are good, and they have uh, cheap deals every once in a while, so that's really nice because audiobooks are a bit on the expensive side. That's why I got my Audible deal, which is much better because you get a book included with your subscription every month, so it makes it a little bit more feasible to do audiobooks, and you can buy credits for a little bit cheaper as well, which is a nice thing. And then, I don't know, I think I counted 100 books by the time I was finished filling this out, because it sounded like a nice round number to go for, so I don't know if I'll get 100. I think I will. But I don't really pay attention to how many books I read. Sometimes I'll read a short, easy novel in a few hours, so I'll read a few books a week, and then sometimes I won't get around to as much reading, so I'll only read 1, maybe 2 books a week, depending. Plus, when I'm on holidays, I read quicker, obviously, and normally I have to work during the day, all day, so I don't read books while I do that, but sometimes I listen to audiobooks, so that could work out too for some of the audio reading to get done. I don't often read paperbacks anymore, but I do have a few that I wanted to buy in hardcover because one of my favorite all-time authors is Anne Rice, and so I bought the actual physical books that I wanted to read of hers because I haven't read some of her new books in quite a few years. And I bought those books used, but they obviously are paper books, so those will be the original books that I read. So I had to come back the next day, and as you can see, it was not a good idea to have my channel idea page on the back of that because of the black lines showing through, but I'm going to fill that out later. I just wanted to make a cloud like an idea there. And it's the next day because it took me a long time to finish all this, and I think my battery died too. So the next page is called Things to Check Out, and that's going to be movies, TV series, and games, and What was the other one I put on there? Oh, we'll soon find out. And then on the next page, I put things to learn and places that I want to visit. Of course, that's going to be dependent on whether I do actually go anywhere. Oh, music, of course. Movies, TV series, music, and games. Those are the things that I want. If I find something out that I want to watch or listen to check out, then I'll write it in there, remind myself to go back and look for that later. Then there's things to learn, which is what I want to keep working on or learn. Like, I want to keep working on learning my French language. I want to learn to do some calligraphy or some different types of writing. I want to improve on a lot of things like my art skills and my journaling skills and my video editing skills. There's lots of places that I want to visit, but I want to try and narrow it down per year so I can plan, I guess, a budget, do a little savings account for where I want to visit at a particular time. And then I will mark down if I went there or not. I'm just adding a little bit of decor because I don't really have a lot of room on these pages either. I like the Galaxy washi tape, but I don't know if I'm totally happy with how it looks on the page, but it does add a little bit of color. I think I go back later and make some dots and things like that as well, just to add a little sparkle to the page. Then I've got my 2021 vision board. So it's kind of like a to-do list, a big to-do list. Some are really broad things to do, and some of them are simpler things to do. But I just did a whole bunch of boxes across both pages, and then wrote a bunch of stuff in. I didn't completely fill it in yet, but I thought of some good things that I wanted to accomplish this year, like some renos around the house and certain cleanup things, like, you know, how they say you should move your fridge every 6 months or something and clean out behind that. So put in those kind of reminders of things to clean up and get on a good schedule for that so I can make note when I do it that I do it. So my next spread is my budget tracker. So I put all my bills in there and I put all the months in there so I can check them off that they got paid. And I did have that penciled in, and I had a bunch of planets still left, so I decided to make a little decoration of the planets along the side first. And again, stuck those down with the double-sided sticky tape that I use for most of my cards. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, but I did use watercolor paper to paint on those planets. So then I got out my pen and again wrote out my title for the page, my bills tracker, and started filling in the lines. I don't mind my handwriting, but I think I can do a few more different ideas. Improve on some of the letters, make it look a little tidier, a little smoother. So it's like a little graph. I've got a bill column, I've got a cost of the bill column, and then I've got each month. Not all the bills are every month, some are every other month, some are twice a year, some are once a year, but I can just fill it out as needed when it's paid. And make sure everything gets tracked to stay on schedule. So there was the final look of the bill tracker page without all the bills written in yet, but I will do that. And then the next few pages are pretty simple, not much on them. A little bit of decoration. Looking back at 2020, I've got personal accomplishments, career accomplishments, highlights, something I tried, mistakes I made, something I learned, something I don't want, something I do want to keep. And then looking forward to 2021. Goals, type of person I want to be, to let go of and keep, career goals, things I want to learn, things I want to try. And I'll fill in all those things later. And then as I go through the year, I'm going to put in a special picture from each month. One of my things that I wanted to do more of was take more pictures or print more pictures. And I have a little photo printer that goes with my phone, and I'll just do a picture each month on those 2 pages. So here's the flip through of all the pages I did. For the overall year. And then I'll be back to do January. Thanks for watching!